Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the What Leaders at Great Schools Do Better Tech and Inspiring One's Team session for the NCEA 2021 conference. I hope that you are learning lots of cool things from the different sessions that you are taking in and that you are finding blessings in the ideas that are shared as well. So this particular session is very much about how you think about your school. What is it that you can do to make sure that you are getting the best out of your people, that they are finding kind of the most personal and professional satisfaction out of the work that they do, and how as a team are you fostering and sharing successes even in a difficult time like this. So with that, I'll start by reminding myself to have the captions on. Oh, I've already done it. I love it when that happens. And a word about the slides. I will give you a link at the end so that you can get to all of these slides if you want them. And so anything that comes up as a part of these, you can then find your way back to it, click in it, find the resources that are a part of that, etc. So you'll see a lot of images on my slides. This is probably the most text heavy slide you'll see. And all of them are images for which I either am the photographer or that I got them from sites from which they are legally available to use with citation. So that is something I figure we should always model for our students, and that is what I am doing as a part of this session as well. So it's nice to meet you. My name is Rushton Hurley. I am a former high school teacher, a former principal, and I run a little nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning. And Next Vista for Learning's main thing is a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. It's all free, but hopefully there'll be some resources that are useful to you as a part of that as well. Whoops. So with that, let's talk about the idea of your school. How do people ask about your school, the things that happen there? What is it that they want to know? And when you meet people and you're telling about the school where you work or the set of schools or something like this, often people are real curious, and they'll ask that question, hey, what's special about your school? And that particular question is a very important one. And interestingly, it's one we often don't answer very well. We may say things like, well, you see, at our school, we really, really care about the children. Oh, isn't that nice? It's so nice that you care about the children. It distinguishes your school from all of those where they regularly traumatize the kids. What they're really asking is, what will my child do? If my child were to go to your school, what kind of special experiences would he or she have? And so they're looking for something much more concrete. And as we look at the possibilities for tech and inspiration, I think we can, I think we can see how that framing question can be useful for what it is we hope to convey about our schools. Now, there's a school that I worked with in the 90s that had this amazing environmental science program, and the teacher would take a group of students down to Death Valley for 5 days of hiking, camping, and environmental science research every year. Wow, that's so cool. I'd love for my kid to be involved with that. That thing of, I want my child to do that. I want my child to experience something, right? Everywhere they go, there's going to be teachers who care for them. The question is, what will the child do? What will inspire the child along the way? At another school where I spend a load of time, Junipero Serra High School, now St. Junipero Serra High School in San Mateo, California. For a number of years, the Theology 1 students would form groups, and they would find like a nonprofit in their community that they think is really doing a lot of good work, and they would build a video story telling what it is that they are making happen, so as to help that nonprofit gather more support, gather more volunteers, things like that. And telling those stories through video is a powerful thing students can do for their communities now. And so you can imagine, like a parent, and that, oh, my kid loves to make videos. I mean, well, will my kid be able to do that? They want to know what the children will do. So they're very much into this space of looking for what will inspire their kids, and how they'll be able to talk about what they experience when they come home for dinner and all of these kinds of things. So for this session, when we talk about tech and inspiring one's team, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a number of different kinds of technologies in front of you. And the goal will be to identify how to take them to the next level. So we'll look at a couple of things that are normally done, and then we'll just identify this. Hey, look, don't stop there. Don't stop with that. There are these other things that you can do. And that's important for how you think about telling the stories of success of your school. So let's start with one of the easiest technologies that are out there, images. There are loads and loads of wonderful images out there. And I know that one of the things that most schools do is they go to the trouble of taking some pictures, right? So you go out, you take a few pictures, and you share that, in any of a number of ways. And that's a really good thing to do. Make sure people are taking some pictures, but don't stop there, because there are a lot of things you can do academically and in terms of professional development that can be good for inspiring your team. So let's take a look at some examples on this front. You can imagine, for example, that someone is starting class and they say, all right, everyone, bell just rang, settle down, we have a lot to cover. I'll now go over the main points of yesterday's class. Now, there's a problem with introducing an idea that way and starting a class that way. It's that in saying, I'll now go over the main points of yesterday's class, the kids might be hearing, I don't need to listen today, it'll be summarized for me tomorrow. Not what was meant. So you can imagine using something like this picture. You might say, what do you mean this picture? How would we use this picture? All right, everybody, the bell just rang. I want you to settle down, turn to your elbow buddy or your breakout room buddy, and talk about how what we talked about in class yesterday relates to this picture. Go. Now, it's mathematically likely you weren't talking about burying Cadillacs in the West Texas sand in class yesterday. So they have to come up with a bit of a creative response. And of course, that might be preceded by something like, what is it we did in class yesterday? What was that? But that's totally fine. It's totally fine because it's an active thing that they're doing. They're actively getting into that space of like, oh, we talked about, oh yeah, there was that. No, there was this. Is like that active piece of getting into their learning in a much higher gear than just being told there was this and this and this is quite important. In essence, what is happening is the teacher is moving from the person who spoon feeds them review to just making sure they don't forget anything important. So we're using our time well, and we're getting class off to a good start. And all we used to do it was a very simple technology, an interesting picture that has no obvious connection to what you did yesterday. Because if there's an obvious connection, then it's merely a do you know the right answer question, at which point most students will defer to the 3 or 4 kids who always get the right answer, which is not the idea. So one way that you can use images to make more interesting things happen in your school is just as a starter for class. But when we think more professionally about images, I want to share with you a story of a school that I worked with in Cape Town, South Africa. Totally interesting place for loads of different reasons. But one of the cool things that they do is that in the summer, before the start of the fall, they have their staff go through a photography class together. Now you might say, well, okay, why do they do that? They were having the same problem that most schools do, which is they have trouble telling the stories of what happens in their classrooms. So they decided, okay, we're gonna bring our staff together. We're gonna give them a photography lesson. They're gonna learn about some photography, rule of thirds, lighting. But what that really does is it enables them to have certain kinds of conversations about what it means to be there. So now they're taking pictures in their classrooms, and they've got this vehicle for talking about what's happening in the classrooms because they've had this photography lessons together, and now they've taken some pictures that they can show each other. And now you're talking about what you see and how is that valuable, and tell me more about that activity, and how did the kids do with that? Those kinds of conversations are what we want to foster in order to make sure that we are inspiring our people to create the best possible environment, both for the students and for them. So, images. Now, it's a nice shift from images to talking about social media, and the chances are you do a number of things with social media, such as your school may have a Facebook page, which is a perfectly good thing, right? It's a good thing to have a Facebook page. The question is, do people go to it? And if they do, why, right? So if you are posting things to your Facebook page, that's great, but don't stop there, because what you're really looking to do with social media is to create that which will be shared. So the idea at this point is to say, here's a thing about our school. And it's not just like we scored here or something like that. It's a story that's compelling, and that compelling story will get shared if it's in the right format, right? So some schools in Indiana, the Franklin Community Schools in Indiana, wonderful folks. I worked with them to talk about a strategy for telling their stories. And I talked with their district PR person and showed them how to use a very simple technology, Adobe Spark. It's a free thing, right? And we talked about ways of getting people to start sharing, like just an image and, like the photography class, right? Just an image and a sentence or two emailed to one person so that they could put it together in this tool. So what does it look like when you do something like this? Well, here's what it looks like right here. We're gonna watch this particular episode of the Franklin Minute. All right, so here you go, the Franklin Minute. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Franklin Minute. We were excited to again host students from our sister city, Kuji, Japan. They've been able to spend time at CBIS, the middle school, and the high school. Middle school students enjoyed hearing about the differences between school in America and Japan. The students from Kuji provided different demonstrations of activities like origami, and then visited our Mats for the Homeless group and got right to work. The Lady Cubs basketball team traveled to Whiteland this week to help the Special Olympics team with their practice. Students in Mrs. Ramey's class became detectives who were trying to solve the mystery behind the missing colony of Roanoke. The students came up with several different opinions as to what happened. The first ever girls' state rankings for wrestling have been released, and sophomore Lainey Clark is ranked second in the state. She will compete tonight in the girls' regional. Students at Northwood learned about energy this week in STEM. They also learned how to be great teammates and to persevere when the problem gets tough. Thanks for watching the Franklin Minute.
Now that's kind of a fun video, isn't it? Right? I mean, it's simple. It's put together just because, and in this program, all you're doing is you're saying, I'll add this picture, I'll narrate this idea. I'll add this picture, I'll narrate this idea. It's easy stuff. So once it's the case that someone in the school has the responsibility for pulling these different pieces in and then beginning to share them broadly, in that it's in a form that people will watch, i.e. it's a video and not too long, then it gets shared. And so now people are like, well, why isn't the thing that was in our classroom in that video? Did you send her a picture? No. Well, that may be it. So that's where people start saying, oh, okay, yeah. Let me get a picture of what was going on. And once people are in the mode, it becomes much easier. But you have to kind of hit that tipping point of people realizing that this is how it gets done. They do this every Friday. So this is the kind of thing you can throw together in about 30 minutes as long as you have the material, right? So people have sent you pictures and sentences, and you can go from there. So when you think about what it is to use tech and to get stories out there and stories shared, that is something that you have to do essentially because you've built things that generate stories. So we're going to talk a little bit about shared docs. You might say, shared docs? You're talking about like this is the technology that's going to inspire us, shared docs? I think so. So there's a lot you already know about shared docs. Somebody has a document and you share it with somebody else and that person can make changes and you don't have to like email it back and forth to each other. You may remember back in the day, somebody would create a document, email it to somebody else. That person would like make some changes and then send it over, and then you'd make a change, and then like you'd go to your work and then you'd say, oh wait, I forgot to save it over here, and then you're like trying to like put that together with the thing from that and then did I send that one or the other one? That's part of our past, praise the heavens. All right. Instead, you say we share the doc and we can all get to it. Now, it's great that we can say gather resources like in this. Maybe, we want to be able to say, hey, here's a really powerful video about this, that, or the other thing. That's fine. But don't stop there, because you can do a lot more when you think about the power of shared docs. So when you think about this, okay, we're sharing with people and we can link things. This means that we can start linking docs to docs. For what purpose? Well, let's take a look at one possibility. So another school I've worked with, Central Elementary in Nampa, Idaho, was a place that had put together this really, really good facility, essentially, for the members of the community who were dealing with poverty issues, right? To be able to come in and get food or clothes. They did an amazing job of it. And I'll take time to tell you that story because it's so cool that if you do it too, people are going to benefit. What it is they had this like portable classroom, and they converted it into something that they looks a little bit like a store. So when people donate clothes, it's not like it's all, kind of, in a pile somewhere. they've got racks and people, and people have gone to the trouble of hanging them up and organizing them by size and these kinds of things. So it's more like, you walk into a store and there's a person there who will say, hi, welcome. It's good to have you. Can I help you? Are you looking for something specific? And so the people are treated really, really well. So they did this by converting a portable, and they have someone who staffs this and keeps things organized and nice and all of that. Now, the shared dock business, now that you're hopefully inspired to do something similar in your community. So imagine that your community has learned about this thing happening in Nampa, and you're like, wow, we should do that. And so here it is. We got a proposal to the staff. We're going to have a community clothes and food center, right? And we're going to convert a portable classroom to do this. So what you see on this dock is that you have the basic idea for what it is you want to do. And then you have a for and against set columns, right? And so the basic idea comes right here, and here's the basic idea against, and then rebuttals. And these are links to other documents. So when people are having a discussion about, is this something we want to do, they have to go from just saying, I feel this way, to actually crafting their argument in a document, which means that they're probably going to take more care. There might be more of a filter, who your people are on that front, so that it's a solid argument. What you want to do is be able to show that the kinds of decisions you make are informed by the ideas of the entire team, and that people know that their ideas are listened to, and that they have that opportunity to say, here's a way we could work with this. And so if you get to the other end of the idea that you are hoping will go through, and it's better because people have built, several different critiques into it and reacted to each other in some good ways, all the better, right? And because there's this one doc that links to all the pieces, now, when it comes time for accreditation, when the visitors come to the school and everything, and they ask you about your processes and all, you can say, well, there's a number of big decisions we've made the last few years, and here's how we made them. And here's the doc that links to each of the decisions, and here's the doc and how it comes together. And that kind of work that shows that you work together as a team to make really good things happen is the kind of thing that can impress accreditation team, not to mention strengthen your own team, because people start listening to each other more carefully and going to the trouble of crafting their arguments better and things like that. All right, let's talk about video conferencing tools as a technology. So I am recording this presentation right now, very meta we got at the moment, right now using Zoom. Totally good technology. Matter of fact, it underlies a lot of the work that happens in my Rotary Club. I'm a Rotarian. Those of you who are Kiwanians or Lions members or anything like that, service clubs, all good, right? Seropolis. Now, my particular Rotary Club is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. And the group that you're looking at right now, these are all members of the club. So we've got like Mexico, California, Mexico / Costa Rica, Texas, Georgia, California, South Africa, was in Ethiopia as a Peace Corps volunteer and now back in California, Japan and India, but didn't have her camera on. So kind of cool that you can bring people together like this. And you say, okay, well, yeah, fine. We all know how to use Zoom now. I mean, we've been using Zoom left and right since COVID became a part of our lives. Yes, it allows us to bring these meetings together. But when we think about what it means to inspire people at a school, don't stop at just having meetings, right? Because these kinds of technologies essentially mean you can find people who all over the world who will spend time talking to your teachers and your students. So a group of kids that I work with at Sarah High School, the Creative Solutions for the Global Good class, gets my vote for the coolest name for a class, by the way. I'm connected to a lot of people, and I learned about this guy through my Rotary Club. His name is Leo Johnson. He was born in Liberia, but his family escaped during the Civil War there in the 90s, and he made it to Canada as a refugee, got his education, and then made his way into McMaster University, way up the academic food chain, right, in Canada. And he started a thing called Empowerment Squared in order to build the first library and learning center in post-Civil War Liberia. And he was very happy to connect and talk with my students about their ideas and the different things that he's doing, and those are moments that kids remember, and moments that we as educators remember when we're connecting to interesting people. Your team has connections all over the world. And you might say this to somebody and they say, oh no, not me. I don't know anybody. Well, there is my cousin who lives in Toronto. Really? Let's find out more about, what that person does and knows. There are connections and connections and connections. People who do interesting things, who've experienced interesting things. You may know missionaries in interesting places, where they're doing really interesting work, this way or that way. There are all sorts of possibilities for getting our students to connect with the larger world and to be inspired by the stories of those who are very happy to spend a few minutes connecting via something like Zoom or Meet or any of these, and to share what it is that happens. And that's the kind of thing that moves school from being this set of boxes that we check off to a set of experiences that inspire them. When you think about how much time kids have at school, it's not about the number of minutes we have, it's the number of moments that we craft, the kinds of really inspirational moments that allow them to go home at the end of the day and say to parents like, oh, today we talked to this guy in Canada, and he's building like this library and learning center in a place called Liberia. Where's that? That's in West Africa. Wow, let's look at a map. Those kinds of moments are the moments that tie students and families to the experiences of your school, and develop that kind of loyalty and enthusiasm that you really want in order to keep your school healthy going forward. Video. So video is absolutely one of my favorite technologies because of its power to inspire people via wonderful stories. And hopefully you've got students who are doing some work with video, telling about things that they're learning, and showing that they're doing different things. And that's great. You want kids making videos, and don't stop there. All right. Because what you want to do is you want to make sure that in addition to having kids begin to develop their stories for a larger audience, right? That's one of the powers of video, is that it changes the audience. This is something I experienced as a teacher of Japanese language back in the day. I shifted from doing skits to doing videos. And I remember that first day that we were all sitting back to watch the videos they'd made, and the kids were so excited. They were just, oh, right? I was like, all right, here we go, here we go. And after every video, the kids were, hey, that was great, that was awesome. I wasn't telling them you will now clap for your peers. No, they were genuinely excited to see each other's work, and they had done good work, and it was much higher quality than things I'd had them do before. Why is it? The audience changed. One thing I've been saying for years, and I will keep saying because I think it's important: when students know that others will see their work, they want it to be good. When it's just for the teacher, they want it to be good enough. Does it give me the grade I want? That kind of thing. And so using a technology that changes the audience changes quality, their sense of what it is that they can do and why they want to do it. So what I want to do is I want you to see how one school in Monterey, California, tells the stories of its 20 time projects. So the 20 time projects are those ones which allow a student to take 20% of his or her time and to focus it on a project that's really, really important, right? All right, so we're gonna watch just a little bit of this video right here, see what you think.
I collected plastic bags and crocheted them into sleeping mats for the homeless.
I wrote a book to teach non-speakers to learn Chinese.
We created a series of YouTube videos explaining how to upcycle common household items into DIY projects
and how to prepare healthy dessert recipes. I organized and taught poetry workshops twice a week at a local elementary school to inspire students to use writing as a productive and healthy creative outlet.
I composed music in a video series to help anyone who wanted to start composing.
I volunteered at a care home where I tended to developmentally disabled clients.
In order to educate kids about the importance of immunizations, I busted myths about the flu shot by filming a public service announcement and sharing it with local schools and hospitals. I raised money to donate to the Water Project so that people in developing countries have access to clean, disease-free water.
You get the idea. This is cool stuff, right? And the videos about these 20 time projects, they just keep going. One really interesting project after another that a kid has done. And you look at these things and you think, Would I want my kid to go to that school? And of course, the answer is yes. I would. I want my kid to have these kinds of experiences where they're building and creating and making a difference. When we think about service to others, that critically important piece of community service, a sense of possibility for what we're capable of doing for others, that thing that is so important to what it means to be in a Catholic school, and to share that sense of grace and blessing such that others can see some hope themselves. If you see something like this, you're going to think, man, tell me more about that school. So the kind of video that you put together becomes very important for how you tell the stories of what happens at your school. And the stories themselves drive more and more conversations about more dynamic learning and more interesting opportunities. And how do we craft and make this? How do we make this stronger? Those are important pieces of how we inspire our people using simple storytelling technologies. Now, there are lots and lots of examples, by the way, of how students create videos. One of the things that happens in a lot of academic settings with video is a teacher will say, all right, we're going to do a video project. And here's an example that I think is great. And then they'll show like one example, which means the kids are all like trying to copy the one example, which is not the idea. So if you come back to this slide at some point, you'll see that there is a link down here, student video examples. This is slide number 40 for those of you who are keeping track. And that has a lot of different videos, and they're different kinds of videos, all made by students. So that if you say to students, pick any 3 videos on this page and tell me what you thought was interesting about them, where you can get the students into a mode of saying, you know, I like that stop motion one that those students did, or I like the way of doing this over here. There are 50 different ways to create a cool video for educational purposes. And having a chance to look at a bunch of different ones can help really spark a lot of creativity on the part of the students. All right. I also want to talk about how video stories can help your staff get past some of the barriers that are often part of becoming, let's just say, a little professionally jaded about their experiences. It happens in a lot of school settings. Oh yeah, we tried that before, you know, stuff like that. And often what it means to really reach the best in ourselves means understanding things from the standpoint of a story. So I'll share with you a story that was put out by the Kleenex people. It gives you an idea of kind of the emotional tone of it, and see what you think. Here we go. This is called A Shining School.
Mr. Patton is our custodian, who is a hard worker. He takes a lot of pride in our school.
I take pride in my floors and bathrooms. It's very important for kids to come to a clean school.
He cares about the building, he cares about the teachers, and he cares about the students.
They're kind of like his kids. He brings a smile to their face every single day.
When I see them smiling, it makes my day. I just like it.
Mr. Patton thinks that today we are just doing a profile on the school. We wanted to do something really special to show him how much love we have in our hearts for him. He has no idea that it's all about him.
We're gonna have a big party for Mr. Patton. I've known him since kindergarten. He is our janitor, he is our friend, he's just the best man ever.
Mr. Patton?
Yes, ma'am.
We need you in the gym. We have a major spill. Can you come quickly, please?
Come on, I'll be right there.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
We celebrate you. We love you so much. Be everything to us.
Thanks.
On behalf of the Kleenex brand and Laughlin Design Center and our East Nashville community, we thank you for all that you've done for us, and we're presenting you with this today. For you.
Not only does he clean stuff, but he always brightens our day with funny jokes. We love and appreciate you, Mr. Patton.
This is the day I'm gonna remember. I came in, I saw the kids. It was a total surprise, shock. I rarely ever drop a tear, but today I dropped a tear.
He was really, really surprised. I think he cried.
It feels good. I can have a good week and go home knowing that my job really does matter. To share what love is, this was love.
Now that's a sweet story. It's important, I think, for us to be in that space of recognizing that every adult on a school campus plays a part in making sure that that school is a place where you build creative confidence, you learn to have hope for the future, you learn to strengthen your faith, that all of these things are a part of what it means to be at a good school, where teachers talk with not just each other, but with every adult who works there. And I think that it's also important when you watch a video like this. Maybe first you're thinking about, like, do we have a Mr. Patton at our school? Maybe you noticed what was on his shirt. What's your superpower, right? Well, I teach. I change the lives of children, whatever it might be. But also it's important that you don't avoid tough questions. Is it important to the viewer in watching a video like this that the only Black adult we meet is the janitor? It's important, I think, for us to know that we are constantly conveying stories about our community in all sorts of ways, powerful and telling. And we need to be in that space of saying, are we learning about ourselves as we look at the stories we tell as well? So I think that if you begin to look at these kinds of things and say, hey, we know that there is a story here that is about what it means to value the people on our team. And we also know that there is a story here that says we may need to better represent our community. Those are real possibilities in how you look at the power of stories for getting your team to be a set of people who wonder about the stories they tell and what they should be telling. All right, so if you are looking for good videos that tell pretty amazing stories about people all over the world, I've collected dozens and dozens and dozens of these for you on the resources pages in the sources of inspiration section at nextvista.org. I hope you'll give it a look. And especially if you're just having kind of a bad day, just go to that one and pick one out. And a few minutes later, you might just be smiling. Now, nextvista.org, as I mentioned earlier, is a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. It's free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from. It's all for a student audience, all screened content. My own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Woo. So if your students are creating videos that might help other people learn something or telling the stories of service in their communities, I hope that we'll be in touch so that we can highlight some of your videos to inspire others as well. We do a lot of contests where we ask kids to make 90-second or less short videos that tell about something one might find challenging at school. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's tying your shoes or the Doppler effect or multiplying fractions or connections in history, whatever it is, if there's kind of a clever insight that your students or your teachers have, share it in a short video, and we'd love to share it with others. We also do these service contests where we ask students in 2 minutes or less to tell the story of those who make life better for others. And we know that that is a part of your school as well. And we'd love to be able to hopefully inspire others to do good things that you guys are making happen. You'll find a lot of webinar content on nextvista.org, including the most recent guidance video that I put together called Your School Post-COVID. If you've been thinking, how do we prepare for like what life is like after COVID when we can all be back at the school? And if you're thinking, well, we'll just go back to what we did before, I would caution you to rethink that plan. There are a lot of things that we have learned over the last year that have introduced possibilities we didn't have before. We want to keep offering these things to students, and we may find that we have competition that we didn't have in the pre-COVID times. So if you're curious about that, feel free to go give it, and any of the other 70 to 80 webinars that we've got up there, a look. I put out a newsletter every month, and in it, I tell about contests we do, ideas that are out there, but also I share a lot of freebies, stuff you might want to watch or read or try, and feel free to give it a look. We always give away a Starbucks card each month as well. And you might say, wow, but you probably send it to a lot of people. I do. So it's hard to win, huh? No, very few people enter because they think it's hard to win, and so they don't. Just saying. All right, so feel free to give that a look. I've written some books, including from NCEA, Technology, Teamwork, and Excellence. I hope you'll give that a look. It's a book for leaders on how to make your school all the stronger a place for everybody. Okay, if you have questions, please feel free to stay in touch with me. I would love to hear from you, share ideas, connect via Zoom, whatever it might be. And you are welcome to contact me. You can reach me via email at rh@nextvista.org. There's a video library, nextvista.org. I'm on Twitter at RushtonH, RushTonH. I was a little late to Instagram, so I'm at Rushton was taken. Hope you get that. There are loads of free resources at nextvista.org/resources, including that page of inspirational videos. My newsletter is at nextvista.org/newsletter. The 5-day challenge sounds like some kind of a cleanse, but what it is an opportunity for teachers to each of 5 days to pick one of two things and say, I'll try that, you try this, and then come back and talk about it. It's a way of improving what you do. It's all just a set of blog posts that you can follow, freely available, easy out there. And if you'd like to get these slides, tinyurl.com/rh-ncea21. It's a tiny URL shortcut, so you don't need to worry about capitalization either. I hope that there were some good ideas for you in this session, that you are thinking about new possibilities for your school, that you are into the idea of taking things to a next level, and that you and your people will be finding ways to reach those kids who have had all of those moments of, oh, I don't know if I can, those moments where we think, that kid, there's just so much riding on his or her shoulders, and what is it that we can do to help? Once you start into an exploratory culture of sharing ideas in more and more powerful ways, you'll find that your team has answers that maybe it didn't before for reaching kids that desperately need something a little different. So with that, I will finish this session with the same line I finish every newsletter, and it's this: may you inspire and be inspired each and every day. Thank you for catching this recording.